I hereby call this council meeting to order. If you will all please stand with me and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for being here and those watching from home. My name is Richard Alton. I'm the Vice Mayor. I am subbing in for the Mayor this evening.
And we need to do roll call, please.
Yes, excuse me.
Vice Mayor
we're going to do
Alton.
roll call.
Vice Mayor Alton.
Here.
Councilmember Villanueva. Here. Councilmember Hall. Here. Councilmember Woodard.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Here.
Thank you.
And now we will have current events, if we will, and we'll start with Councilman Hall.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I've been kind of busy this last 2 weeks recovering from hip surgery, so I haven't done a lot. But I did want to announce one thing. I got some money marked from the Knights of Columbus for part of the installment payback for the Patriots Partners and Patriots program. So here's $1,046.
Good.
So can you put that on their account? Yeah. They're going to continue, and I want to thank Leo Murphy and Stan Mucha for all their effort in working this repayment program. So that's all I have, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Woodard.
I have a couple of things. Last week I attended a meeting with the Glendale Convention and Visitors Bureau here in Surprise, and that was quite interesting to see how that's working for them and possibly how we could interface with that. We also we have a council retreat coming up, and we've broken up into subcommittees, and our subcommittee for the quality of life and tourism has met, and we're developing our programs to present at the retreat next Tuesday night. Last night I attended the Sierra Vista HOA meeting, and this morning the Surprise Hotel Association meeting, which is interesting. I do have a special announcement I'd like to make. After I left the Hotel Association, I had to go to market and get some food. Hadn't been to the market in a while. And there's a special gal down there that is one of the customer service clerks that bags your groceries, and her name is Trina. And I've gotten to know her, and she said that she had been selected by Special Olympics to be in the pool for the Summer Olympics games in Greece in bocce ball.
Wow. Great.
And so we're reaching all over the world with our youth and our new endeavors economically here. And I just want to congratulate Trina for her efforts. She has been a gold medal winner in the state for, I believe, 3 years. And that was one of the qualifications to get into the pool. And then they draw a lottery from the pool as to which ones will go to Greece. And I'm sure that everybody here in the city will be thinking well of her and praying that she gets to go. And that's it.
Thank you. Councilman Williams.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I've been real busy with school starting, so I first want to congratulate all the teachers, administrators, and high school students. This past week, Monday, was our first day back, and so welcome back. It's an exciting time if you're a teacher, and not so exciting time if you're a student. But it's good. It was a good first week, so good to be back doing that stuff. Surprise Youth Leadership Group met. They have formed groups according to high schools. We've got 6 teams now that are going to be working on community projects. And that process will kind of unfold itself over the next several months, and we're anxious to see what these students are capable of. It's been a great group this year. Not as good as last year, though. But we're very excited. Saturday, second Saturday of the month, and the fourth Saturday of the month. Second Saturday of the month at Nick's Diner, 9 a.m. with myself and Councilmember Woodard. If you have any community concerns, please come on out for breakfast with us. And the fourth Saturday of every month, over at Archie's Deli at 8 a.m. and with myself and Councilmember Hall, and welcome all community members to come out and talk about any issues that are relevant and concerns to you. I want to welcome Rio Glass. I was not able to attend last night or yesterday, but just an outstanding partnership for the city, and we're all very excited, and a lot of attention to Surprise and the Rio Glass partners. So I congratulate them and our city staff for doing such a great job. Finally, next couple of weeks we'll be attending the League of Cities conference. As everybody knows that paid attention up here, part of that resolutions committee, so I'm excited. I was able to sit on the subcommittee that really discusses specific legislation that the League will support. And it was a great opportunity for myself, for the city, to sit there and really voice our opinions and what's important for Surprise. That resolutions committee will come to an end here at the conference in the next month, and I'll be a part of that process. So that's all I got. Vice Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Villanueva.
Yes, what I have is I have some thank yous, what I want to express tonight, especially the completion of Dysart intersection on Waddell Road. That was a partnership between the county, the city of Surprise, and also the city of Almirage. And also the intersection on Grand Avenue, that's with ADOT, and that was completed also. And also I want to thank Almirage for taking down that old cyclone fence around the water tank there in the OTS. They put up a nice block fence and wrought iron fence there, so we appreciate that very much. And that's about it.
Thank you. I was a little involved in the last couple of weeks. I had an opportunity to go speak with WEMAR. WEMAR is the Western Maricopa Association of Realtors. They met here in Surprise, and the mayor and I attended their breakfast meeting. We had an opportunity to do some discussions back and forth, and what I asked them to do is to give a little care to the city of Surprise, and that is, so often on these Pride Days, we go out and clean up all the homes that are in foreclosure or nobody is paying attention to these homes, but yet they're listed. And so what I asked for is to give back or give help to the city on these Pride Days and to provide either financial support or manual support in cleaning up their own properties. At the same time, we are out there cleaning up their properties. And so they understood it. It was well accepted, and I think we will see their participation from henceforth. Good. I had an opportunity to go to the Colonnade, which is in my district. It's a retirement living facility. Did a tour of the townhomes that they have now. It's 2-story, and there's an elevator in these townhomes. It's awesome. It's a great way to live, and I encourage everybody, if they have an opportunity that is looking for unique living with medical assistance in the picture, the Colonnade is an opportunity to go visit and see what they have to offer. Had an opportunity to go to the Chamber of Commerce fundraising event, which held out in Sun City Grand. Everybody had fun. I'm sure they made a few dollars. There was silent auctions and so forth. It was a good event. I had a coffee chat, both Sharon Walcott and myself. Sharon is not here today. She is in Texas at a transportation conference. She's been there all week. We wish her well and Godspeed coming home tomorrow. But we had our coffee chat. More and more people are starting to show up, which is great, and even the press. So I encourage anybody that wants to have an opportunity to visit with Sharon and myself and to find out what we're doing and what our visions are and so forth. It's a good opportunity, and everybody is welcome on the first Tuesday of the month at Sonoran Plaza, and it starts from 10 and lasts until 12. I had an opportunity. I was delighted to be part of it, the Rio Glass press conference yesterday at City Hall. What an experience that was. We had a lot of media here. We had all the movers and shakers in the state of Arizona, including the governor. and everybody that had a hand in this acquisition of Rio Glass, coming here to the city. I was involved in Rio Glass about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when we originally toured the sites. So it's been going on for a long time. We'll have an opportunity to hear from Rio Glass in a few minutes. And this coming Monday, is Sun City Ground Town Hall meeting. I believe it starts at 9:30. And look forward to visiting with both Sharon and I with our constituents. And that's all I have. And given that, we'll go to the city manager.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We have a couple presentations tonight, and we'll start out with a state championship baseball team that's part of our Cal Ripken baseball program. Paul, if you could come on up here and help the young men line up right in front of the podium so we can have a picture op. I'm going to announce the names and everyone come up at the same time. But we have head coach John Hemsley. He's actually the varsity coach at Dysart High School. We have the assistant coach Clint Corley. He's a head coach at Valley Vista High School. The assistant coach is John DeMar. John is a volunteer coach. He's a parent in our league. We actually had room chaperones because these young men actually earned the right and the privilege to travel to Long Beach, California, and represent the city of Surprise. We had room chaperones, Mr. Hall, Mr. Espinoza, Rudy, and Juan Espinoza. And the team members, guys, when I call your name, just kind of maybe wave so that they know who you are, okay? Kind of like the big leaguers do during the All-Star announcements, okay? But we have Jeremy DeMar. Jeremy. Isaac. We have Isaac Steele. Dick Espinoza. Anthony Summerall. We have Zane Fink. Here's a baseball name. We have R.J. Hall. Ramirez. Drew Frazier. Chris Laborin. Christian Cordova. Rudy Espinoza Jr. Anthony Madrano. And I understand we have a bat boy here today, Vincent Espinoza. They spent about 5 days and enjoyed, and I have to tell you that a lot of the benefits of what the Cal Ripken program, which is now the third largest baseball program in the country. We have over 2,000 of our players under the direction of Paul Free and Jason Bond, our two staff members. This is our fourth state champion, and it's not really about winning state championships. From my perspective and the philosophy that I've tried to bring forth to Paul and Jason, it's the opportunity for these young men to go explore, to play in a regional against Hawaii and Utah and Nevada and Guam, and to really be ambassadors, to learn that there's a sportsmanship piece to this game, and there's a leadership piece, and of course the parents who volunteer so much of their time. So I wanted to recognize them. We're going to take a picture, and I understand they had a regional win against Nevada, which is our first regional win ever. So that's quite an accomplishment because we've sent some teams away, and they've tried hard, but they haven't come back with a victory. So congratulations to you, and many, many successes. And the Dysart program, the Willow Canyon program, and the Valley Vista program will only be better for what these experienced, these young men are really going through and accomplishing at this time. So, Paul, why don't you get in there, and we'll get a picture with the mayor and the council behind them, and then we have a couple more presentations as well. How about a nice round of applause one more time for all of these young men?
All right.
Yeah, why don't you get behind him?
Right, you can't see the camera, I can't see you, so make sure you can see.
Vice Mayor, if you'd go down on the podium there so that I can have you partnerships are what's a part of the City of Surprise, especially the Community and Rec Services Department. And The city is very fortunate to have today a partner that's been a part of our aquatics program for many, many years under the leadership of Donna Miller. Donna's here in the audience, but I'd like to introduce Martin Nowakowski, the Director of Governmental Relations, Jeff Baker, he's the Market General Manager for the West Valley, and PJ Elias, he represents the International Association of Firefighters, Local 160, who represent the Southwest Ambulance employees. Southwest Ambulance is providing the community rec services, the City of Surprise, with another donation of $2,500 for our Learn to Swim program. The money was added to our youth scholarship program. Through the scholarships, children from over 70 families will be able to take swim lessons this summer in Surprise. Southwest Ambulance has been donating to the city as part of their pull pack program for several years, and I'm sure Chief White over there from the fire department would agree that it's this type of education and preventive education and opportunities for that that makes our city a lot safer during the summer years and in the water. So Southwest Ambulance, again, thank you. Martine, Jeff, and PJ, we appreciate everything that you do for us, and we hope to see you back here next year again. Thank you. And last but not least, the city of Surprise is fortunate to have an employee-dependent scholarship program in place designed to complement the dependence of our full-time and part-time employees. This is an annual program that was originally set up by Mayor Joan Schaefer back in 1999. She felt that education was important. She felt that we should complement and give to our employees so that they could give back to their families. The program was actually started by Mayor Schaefer with some donations from the Sundancers. This program is administered by the Human Resource Department. Applicants are required to submit an HR application, provide their recent transcripts, write an essay describing their future goals, and maintain a high grade point average. The application is then reviewed by an employee committee from across the city. I'm very proud to say that the two winners this year, Alexandria Rivera. Alexandria, would you come up? She's the daughter of Christina Ramirez, our Neighborhood Services Program Supervisor. Alexandria will be attending Arizona State University. She'll become a Sun Devil, majoring in global studies and political science, and is expected to graduate in 2014. She has been part of our teen commission for several years and has been nothing but a joy to work with, and leadership is definitely part of her fabric, and we look for great things for her as a resident of Surprise, and we wish her nothing but the luck. Congratulations, Alexandra. The other recipient this year is Hunter Bergamasco. He's the son of Carolyn Ellington, our Community Programs Coordinator. Hunter will be attending Arizona State University, majoring in life science and pre-med, as expected to graduate in 2012. I would like to congratulate both these individuals on earning scholarships and commend them on their endeavors to further education. And I'd more so like to really compliment their parents for setting a very positive example on asking them to have goals to seek higher education. So congratulations to all of you, and continue good luck. And Vice Mayor, while you're walking back up to the podium, just to echo what Councilman Villanueva had mentioned with respect to the Waddell intersection, we actually received a letter from B.J. Cromwell from the City of El Mirage complimenting our engineering department, our public works department, and the staff for working so cooperatively and so effortlessly to get that job done. So I want to thank Bob Beckley and his staff. They were actually singled out, and there are good things happening in the City of Surprise when it comes to our employees. So thank you for bringing that up. That's my report, sir.
Thank you, Mark. And I believe the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Excuse me, call the public. Is there any?
Yes, we have two.
Okay.
The first one would be Ken Wright.
Okay.
Good evening. It's all gentlemen tonight. I got a couple of brief items. One is great appreciation to the Surprise employees, all the way down from the City Council down to the perhaps some ex-employees on the bringing of the businesses into the community. I believe with the existing structure that we have that you guys adopted fairly recently that this will be a harbinger of the better things to come, and much appreciation to everybody involved. think it was great. Secondly, I'd like to address the 4-day work week for the employees. I believe when this was originally set up, there was a lot of discussion, and it ended up being that it would be attempted on for the summer, and that an employee survey would be submitted and another look taken at the situation to determine whether it would be enacted year-round or not. And I think that the employee survey is the critical factor here. Many of the operational units of the city, as you guys are well aware, have been virtually decimated. Some of them, percentage-wise, have really taken a hit. I know you guys have got a meeting coming up next week to talk about a vision for the city. Well, that vision is going to require some strategy and tactics. Those are going to be done, the tactics are going to be taken care of by the people that I'm talking about. Like I said, they've been cut way down in numbers, and I believe that morale is an important factor. I know I read that petition that came from the police department, from the employees, and morale was a factor that was indicated in there. So employee morale was important to those people. I think it's important to these civilian employees. And I noticed at one point there was in the press there was a comment that if individuals had an opinion on this, they could contact their councilman and give them their opinion. I suppose the council is not being involved in a decision, but maybe ask what they think about it in a general sense. And I would hope that as councilman, if you are solicited for your advice, that you lean heavily towards this group of employees that's impacted. Let them be the decision makers. I think when you look at the department heads and higher level supervisors, for example, they probably have some discretion in how they use their time, compensatory time off or whatever. And so I think that the decision should be made by the employee surveys. I don't know how they will turn out. I'm not privy to that. But that should be where the decision lies. And I would appreciate consideration for those people. They're the ones that actually do the work and get things done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the next speaker is, Dick Yost.
Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. City Manager. My name is Dick Yost. I've been a resident of the city for 7.5 years. I've also been a law enforcement professional for 31 years, but I want to make a point that I am speaking on behalf of the residency that I am here, not based on my profession. Mr. Coronado, thank you. You cannot believe the increased morale in the police department right now for you standing firm with what you did. We sat here, my wife and I, a couple weeks ago, and watched you get berated by people for supposedly not knowing what you're doing. You did exactly what you needed to do, and it came out right. On behalf of the men and women of your police department, I know that they say thank you. The morale has gone up tremendously in such a short period of time. Chief Schott is doing a great job. It's like night and day, and I know a lot of police officers on that department. My son is one of them. It's just great. And when I saw you, how you berated you were last time, I said, I got to go to the next meeting and say thank you for what you did. For the people that spoke badly about this man, you have no idea what he was going through. I've been in similar situations. It's not an easy decision, but now it's time to move forward. To Chief Schott, on behalf of the men and women of your police department, I wanted to say thank you too. As a resident of the city of Surprise, it's not done yet. There's some other things we need cleared up, but I know it's on the right path. So again, that's basically what I wanted to say to you. My wife wanted me to say to you too, is on behalf of my son, thank you. My son was basically investigated a while back and was ultimately lost his job. He went and appealed that, and through your appeal process that was approved a while back, he got his job back on a vote of 4-1, and was one of the people that was on the committee said, this man should never have been fired for what he was fired. So that's the kind of person that is no longer with your police department that did that to my son, and I'll never forgive him for that. But you did the right thing again, and I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of my family and other members of the department that I know. So thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all, Vice Mayor.
With that, we will move right into the consent agenda. It's my understanding that number 4 and 5 are being pulled for no consideration at all at this time. Does council have any item that they would like to discuss, pull off, discuss it? Would that be?
Move to approve consent.
There is a motion
Second.
and a second. Please cast your vote.
Unanimous vote, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Then we will move to a regular agenda item. What I would like to do is to pull number 13 and 14, which relates to Rio Glass, and have that heard before the others, if that is all right.
Consideration and action on Resolution 2010-88, a resolution approving the Rio Glass Development Agreement between the City of Surprise and Rio Glass Solar Incorporated. And I'll go ahead and read number 14, consideration and action on Resolution 2010-87, a resolution approving an amended final plat entitled Replat of Lot 27 Skyway Business Park located on the southwest corner of Varney Road and Millgard Way.
What we'll do is we'll hear 13 and 14 together, and then we will vote individually.
Vice Mayor Alton, members of City Council, ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, we have great news this evening. We're here to present to you the Rio Glass project, which includes the development agreement and also the final plat of subdivision. As we learned yesterday, Rio Glass has made a great decision for the City of Surprise, and that's to build their United States corporate headquarters in our fine town. Have a tremendous impact on the city, 130,000 square feet of manufacturing space, administrative space. It means $15 million of direct foreign investment in our community, which is fantastic. And most importantly, I would argue, over 100 new employment opportunities, hopefully, for our residents. Please keep in mind that in and of itself is fantastic news, but there will likely be a phase 2, which will double the size and impact of the project. Company profile you heard in some detail yesterday. Rio Glass is going to be manufacturing parabolic mirrors at the facility. They've been in existence for a number of years. They're primarily a European company and been in business for over 20 years. Very solid international corporation. We're thrilled to have them in the city.
Mr. Mahalik, could you explain for the viewers and the audience what a parabolic mirror is?
Sure. Parabolic mirror is to capture sunlight to turn it into renewable energy, so it's fantastic.
But it's not just a flat mirror.
It's not a flat mirror at all. It's actually a curved piece of glass.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. The location will be north of Peoria Avenue in the Southwest Railplex, immediately adjacent to the BNSF rail line, which is a key factor in having this project land in Surprise. There's a specific location of the site just on the other side of our water treatment plant facility. Here's a quick look at the plat, and that's the only thing I'll be talking about and asking for a recommendation. They're taking Lot 2, cutting into 2 lots, and the Rio Glass property will be 18 acres. This is a quick look at the site plan. They're going to strategically position Phase 1 on the north end of the property, which will make it easy and convenient to add Phase 2 at a later date. Keep in mind, you'll see the development later on as they go through the entitlement process, but this will look familiar within the next couple of months. The other thing I'm pleased to share with you is it's a very attractive building. I would argue it's quite stellar. Some of the glass product, as you see, is very colorful, will make a very dramatic entrance. And here's the entry into the building. Again, it's a fantastic, terrific project. Again, Phase 1 should be operational in the third quarter of 2011. Phase 2 is to be determined based on market conditions, but again, we're very optimistic that that is going to happen in the future. Economic impact is significant for the city. I'll walk you through this. One-time construction sales tax of $250,000. Utility tax, and this is significant, over a 10-year period is $1.1 million. Again, significant. And property tax over the 10-year period is $160,000. Double-edged sword on this one. Nice low property tax, which is attractive to the developer property owner, but $160,000 of revenue for the city, which is fantastic. Let me stress and pause just for a second. This economic impact, the numbers that you see before you, does not include the employment multiplier effect. If any of these 100 employees, or hopefully 200 employees, end up new employees to the city, there's multiplier effects, meaning they could buy homes in the city. We could have additional state shared revenue, clearly sales tax impact. I did not include that, and we're still very revenue positive on this deal. Again, phase 2 will double the impact of everything. What is our commitment? Our commitment is simple and straightforward. $290,000 of fee credits, plan review, site plan review, things of that nature. $865,000 of credits towards public infrastructure, rail, power, roadway. Without all these infrastructure improvements, this deal doesn't happen. It's a good investment. We're also going to be coordinating with the state on job training opportunities. We're going to be expediting the city review process. We turned around the plat today, by the way, in, I'm not joking, 2 hours. That's about as expedited as you can get, and we'll continue that commitment. And we're also providing them with transition project office space at this accelerator. So again, the direct revenues to the city compared to our investment is significant. So easily it pencils very well. Staff does recommend approval of the development agreement and the final plat of subdivision. Answer any questions if you'd like, but I would like to ask Greg Armstrong, the Chief Operating Officer from Rio Glass Solar, to come forward and say a few words. Greg.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Good evening. I just wanted to briefly say a few words. First of all, what a fantastic event yesterday was. And I'm speaking on behalf of Jose Maria Villanueva, our CEO, who had to leave for Europe today. He was very pleased, as I was, that the turnout was just tremendous. The governor there, it was a fantastic event, and it far exceeded our expectations. And that is a tribute to the group here in Surprise that put that together and made that happen. And that's, again, I want to take this opportunity to say how excited we are to be here. This has been a long process, and certainly I'd like to take this opportunity to express thanks to the staff here, the Mayor Truitt, the city manager, and especially Mike Hoover and the staff in the Economic Development Group who put many hours in, weekends, basically whenever I called, he was there and to answer our questions. And you know, this process started almost 2 years ago. It was a long process. We used you know, a lot of folks to help us make this decision. It was over several states. It came down to three states in the end, and 3 particular sites: one in Denver, one in Albuquerque, and here in Surprise. And to be honest with you, it was a tight competition. And so, you know, some of the things you're voting on tonight, the monetary assistance for infrastructure was very critical. But the other part that I think maybe put it over the top was the sense of welcome that our group had when they came here. You know, we built 2 of these projects before, and we're always under a tight timeline. We're in the renewable energy business. It takes forever to get an answer. It takes forever to get going. But then once they give you the green light, you got to have it ready tomorrow. Right. And so we knew we were going to be under a tight timeline. And so we were looking for a partner, not just a site, but a partner that could help us put this together and get this thing up and running quickly. And the team here in Surprise was tremendous. Not only Surprise, but at the state level as well. When looking at all the sites, there wasn't any group in any other state that reacted to our needs like the group here. And so I want to commend them for that. We were looking for a partner, and I'm happy to say that we found one here in Surprise. Good. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
So if you have any questions.
I had an opportunity to speak with Jose Maria Villanueva yesterday. Yeah. And we talked about labor. And certainly he is looking forward to hiring local. He is looking forward to hiring the construction folks. And then as it proceeds and it rolls out, hiring those people that have the expertise that you're looking for. And we hope that the marriage could even get bigger, and that is some of our local residents would even be employed by your company. And we're looking forward to that. We thank you. We look forward to a strong partnership. Any questions of Mr. Armstrong? No? Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much.
With that, Is there any questions? Okay. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. Couple questions. Is any of the public infrastructure, is any of that recoverable by other development that comes in?
It's recoverable in that if we build some of the, like the roadway costs that they may take advantage of, if it's a public street and there's a property on the other side of the road, we'll ask for a contribution from the other developer.
Okay. What about the rail piece?
The rail piece is going to be tricky. The rail spur that's going to be dedicated just to go into the real glass site, it's difficult to, I couldn't honestly tell you that somebody else will benefit from it. But what it does do is by having a rail spur come off of the Ennis spur, all it does is free up trackage availability for other properties in the area. So there's a direct benefit there.
Okay, there's a benefit. Now, what, just for, I think I know what the answer is, but these are direct, what I would call primary jobs.
Yes.
Head of household jobs.
Yes.
And we're very appreciative of that. So what do you figure the multiplier effect is? 4 jobs per 4 induced and indirect?
Yeah,
Per direct job?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that question. We've done an analysis of that recently. For each job that's created in the city of Surprise, multiplier only, it's in the range of 4,000 per job all the way up to 8,000. It's 4,000 if they're not a city resident. It's 8,000 if they are a city resident. And that's a good rule of thumb for us.
Okay. Okay, that's it.
Any other questions? Do I hear a motion?
Move
Number
to approve
13.
Resolution 2010-88.
Second.
That being said, if you'll cast your vote, please.
Need Councilmember Hall, please.
Who?
Councilmember Hall? Yes, thank you. Unanimous vote, Vice Mayor.
Good, thank you. And the next item? Do I hear a...
So moved. Second.
Okay, please cast your vote.
I need Councilmember Hall and Villanueva, please. Thank you. Unanimous vote, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Armstrong, thank you very much.
He left.
Now we'll go back to number
7?
7.
Okay. Consideration and action on ordinance 2010-20, an ordinance increasing and extending the corporate limits of the city of Surprise. And I'm going to call this the BNSF Bumstead Spur Annexation.
Good evening, Vice Mayor Alton, members of the council. This annexation is for the BNSF Bumstead Spur, which is a county island located between Sweetwater Avenue and Peoria. This item was before you in May for a public hearing. BNSF has been a stellar partner for this project, and the signed petition is attached to the ordinance. I do have a presentation. If you would like, I can bring it up, but otherwise, this concludes my presentation.
Any questions?
Move to approve ordinance 2010-20.
Second.
Please cast your vote. Thank you, Benita.
Thank you. Unanimous vote, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Item number 8.
Thank you. Consideration and action on resolution number 2010-02, approving authorization for the city staff to establish a policy that will regulate the process to place temporary and permanent public art on city-owned properties.
Vice Mayor Alton, members of City Council, a very brief presentation. As I'm sure the City Council and residents are aware, we've been approached here in the city by a number of different artists and coalitions of artists that would like to have the opportunity to display public art in the city of Surprise. Unfortunately, we have no policy in place that would help us make sure that the quality and the appropriateness of the art that could be displayed on publicly owned property is in place. So we provide you with that policy today. All that policy really does is to make sure that the material itself is, again, appropriate for public display, that is properly insured, that is properly installed, and it doesn't create any challenges for us in the future. This is not a public art policy that limits it to one artist or one group. It would be available for multiple artists, but they would go through the same administrative process. As you recall, over the past couple of years, City Council has struggled with allocating actual general fund revenues to art, and that's been a challenge given the difficult economic times. What this policy leads to is the display of public art that would actually be loaned to the City of Surprise. So at the end of the day, if you pass this policy, we'll be able to accept art pieces basically on loan, to display them on city-owned properties in a very consistent manner, and also display and enjoy art in an extremely cost-effective manner. Be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you, Jeff. I am supportive of this. My only concern here is that what I'd like to see is a policy like this garner feedback from our Arts and Cultural Board prior to coming to council. Other than that, I think that's great. Like you said, it's a good use of funds or lack thereof, and I would like some input from them prior to us moving forward.
Mr. Hall.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Yes, I'm in complete support of what Councilman Williams just said. I like the policy, Jeff. I think overall it's very good. But I would like to see it run by the Arts Commission. We got some very talented people on that commission. I know we're in the state of flux with regard to that, but I would appreciate some feedback from them regarding this. Okay.
Mr. Woodard.
Yes, Jeff. I agree with the other two council people that the Arts and Cultural Board should have some input on the policy, and I will go so far as to say they should perhaps have some input on the selection of the pieces that would be on display.
Mr. Villanueva.
Yeah, in total agreement, but I have a question whether commercial art will you be able to sell the arts and craft or whatever?
Not directly. It's part of the policy. We specifically say that the art cannot be sold here from the City of Surprise. That would be inappropriate. But let's be honest, it is definitely a marketing opportunity for the artists to show their artwork in the City of Surprise. Mm-hmm. And if that leads to a sale of the piece at some point in the future, that's fine. But the actual transaction would be inappropriate to be on city property.
Any kind of city property, parks, or anything of that nature?
Not if it's part of a program where we're actually displaying the art. That would be inappropriate. Now, if there's an art festival of some sort, some type of display that's really garnered towards the sales, that's kind of a different program. At that point, sure, there could be sales of art there, but not as part of this display program. That's kind of a different animal.
Okay, thank you.
I have several questions, Jeff, and that is, I believe the Arts Board or Commission needs more membership. I think because we ended it not too long ago, June 30th, they haven't had an opportunity to bring their forum back to full strength. So I think that's a step that probably staff needs to take care of with the Arts Commission prior to them looking over this proposal or this ordinance. The other thing is, do you kind of envision that there will be sections of the City Hall that will have different themes?
We haven't really gotten that far, candidly,
okay.
But it does make sense to use some thematic displays. Conversely, sometimes it's actually pretty sharp to have very contrasting pieces in the same area because it adds interest to it. But we're really not that far just yet.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. So I need a motion to continue.
We have a public speaker. Okay. That would be Ken Wright.
Thank you. The council has answered my question.
Thank you.
Move to continue this. How far do we want to go?
How much time do we need?
What do you think in time?
Can you get their involvement?
Yeah.
Sherry, aren't we recruiting right now for membership?
We haven't started that process yet.
When will we start?
I can do an advertisement as soon as I get direction that we're ready to go.
And that process will last approximately how many months?
It usually takes at least a couple of weeks to do the advertisement interview process, maybe 5 to 6 weeks.
So you're looking at about 2 months before we can bring it back to you.
Okay.
Okay. Just a question, if I may. Is it within the purview of the council to extend the existing, the members that expire, their terms expired in June? Can we extend those until we have had an opportunity? I guess one of the things I'm trying to do is perhaps move this along, but
Do it in the right way, yeah. I understand.
you know, waiting till 2 months before we would have applications, and then they should get up to speed, where we have members that have been active and have been, are up to speed, that if we can extend their term until, let's go out and say 3 months, while we...
Mike?
Mr. Vice Mayor,
Yes.
I think, and if I'm wrong on this, guys, what we could do at a staff level is at least poll the sitting commission members to see if they're still interested in serving. Okay, if they are, then we would certainly add them to the applicant pool. And then while you're interviewing the vacant positions and the ones to be potentially reappointed, you can do that at one time, and you can also do that at one council meeting instead of doing it in pieces. If that makes sense.
Well, I think what was asked is that why not, if there are several that have fallen off their term, if they would like to get extended for 2 or 3 months, is it possible to extend them? Can we do that? Extend them for 2 or 3 months if that is their wishes, and that way we can go through the process, but we can also get on with the
and move this.
with this.
Mayor and council, yeah, the council could extend those terms. There would need to be an item noticed in an agenda to do so. One item of note, just to keep in mind, with regards to terms of members on the Arts Commission, some of the positions are actually defunct. And so this may be something that the council needs to bring back, a broader picture of that, meaning our ordinance identifies a position for a member from the West Valley Arts Museum,
right.
a person from the Heard Museum. Those positions no longer exist. Therefore, we may want to have a broader kind of brushstroke look at this.
Okay. Vice Mayor Olden?
Yes.
If I would make the suggestion with respect that over the next 30 days, we don't meet until the 1st of September on the 9th, that the staff work together cohesively. There are a number of boards that have the same challenges because we were contemplating merging some of these boards. We've heard the mayor and council very loud and clear that we don't want to merge. We want to engage the residents. We want them to be a part of a process, create activity so that they have that ability to be a part of a process. So I might make the suggestion, if it's okay with the city attorney, that we come back September the 9th with the council action agenda item to maybe extend the term of all the boards, because the Parks and Rec Board has that same challenge, so does the Disability Board. It'll take the pressure off of the city clerk's office to have to push probably 30 or 40 interviews that will be actually being absorbed by you. So it might be a better process for us all, and then we can extend, and then we can maybe during phases go back and get these terms to come back to the original intent.
Good idea.
Yeah.
So I'll get together with staff. We'll get it done.
Okay.
All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thanks, Jeff.
So I believe there's a motion on the floor, and that was to continue and then we went into discussion. So continue.
Vice Mayor and council members, if I may,
Table.
one action you could actually do is just not act and move to the next item. I think you've provided sufficient direction with the comments by the city manager that we know where we're headed. So if you just want to move to the next item, I think we're good on that.
We certainly can. Number 10. Number 10.
Thank you. Number 9?
Number 9, excuse me.
Consideration and action on the repeal of ordinance number 09-20. This is adding section 3.35 residency requirement to chapter 3 of the municipal code and amending sections 2.146 appointment and 3.2 definitions.
Vice Mayor, members of council, per your direction on the May 27th council meeting, staff brings this item forward for your consideration.
Any discussion?
I mean, go ahead. Well, We know that we've run into a recruiting problem because of this? Is that why are we considering this?
It was initially brought up during the presentation for the city manager recruitment,
Yeah.
and council requested that we bring this forward for your consideration.
And I would like to comment a little bit about it as well, is that in today's economic times, I would be feeling terrible if I were hiring somebody to come and work in Surprise and forcing them to sell a house that they were underwater in, or that they were what they call upside down, and that they owe more on it than it's worth. I think that we owe it to our employees, our current employees and directors and appointed officials, not to require it at the present time, but maybe revisit it, and maybe revisit this item every year to see, and we can scope out the economy and see if it just makes sense. There's nothing better than having somebody living in the city that creates ownership in the city.
Right.
But I can't bring myself to voting for something that's going to it's going to narrow the applicants, number one, and number two, it's going to cause some financial distress. Yes, Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And I echo those sentiments. And I think initially I was a little skeptical of this as well, because this was something we just brought forward a couple of years ago. But the economy is part of it, and the other piece of it is we don't want to limit ourselves at the where we're at in our growth right now. We want the best of the best, and if they can't sell a home or they can't relocate in a timely manner, whatever that time may be, I don't want that to be a deterrent for anyone else to not apply or not want to come to Surprise. So I think it should be revisited when the timing is right, when the economy is right. But the other thing that we still have the power to do is with all the appointed positions, is require that the city attorney, the city manager, the city clerk, those folks have that requirement. So those are things that are negotiable on an annual basis.
Skip.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. But in this consideration, John, we're talking about considering the appointed officials also. So you're saying do it with below city manager, but the appointed officials still require the residency requirement? Is that what you're?
No, well, and there's a separate contract that we agree upon with each appointed position, regardless.
I see.
And I know that was one of the things we wanted to pull from the city managers at this time because of the economy. But on an annual basis, we'd be able to revisit some of those contracts.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Now, I guess I'm having a tough time getting my mind around the theoretical part of this. I mean, I know the economy isn't very good, okay, but concretely, I think we hired Jeff Mihalik after we passed this.
No.
I think. No? Was it before?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I know he hired Scott McCarty. So,
But he's not an appointed.
but he's a director.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't be required to live in Surprise after a certain time period. Isn't it 18 months or 2 years? Don't we give him that long to move?
Correct.
In the current ordinance? What is it, 2 years, Mike?
Correct. Was it 12 months with an extension of 6?
Yeah, we
6
could
months
extend it.
if necessary.
Uh-huh. And I'm just thinking, well, I don't know. I mean, the practical part of this, I want our leaders to live in Surprise. I have a hard time with this. And I'm very compassionate about just what you guys are talking about, like the Vice Mayor pointed out, about being upside down in your house. But I think we could make exceptions based on that if something was really economically pressing for somebody. But I don't think it's a recruiting hurdle. I think this is a great city to work in. I think we pay very well. I really do. And I just think there's a lot of positives to be part of Surprise, and I'd like the people that make the decisions about Surprise to live in the city of Surprise and rub elbows with the residents of Surprise. And so I just have a hard time with this, taking away this ordinance. And I feel for the economic part. I understand that. But I think maybe there's another way to do it without throwing out the whole ordinance. So,
Mr. Witter.
I have a question for Michael. As it's written now, we can, after 12 months, we can make exceptions. Is that correct? Did I understand that?
The ordinance allows for a 6-month extension.
1 6-month extension?
Correct.
Okay. Would, and just one. So if we were to amend the ordinance to allow additional extensions rather than just dumping the ordinance and revisiting it every year, I agree with Skip that I'd like to have the ownership, these people working for us have that ownership and that connection to the city.
If I may, one of the challenges that the council would be presented with if we start to put exceptions within the ordinance is you're now starting to set terms of employment for people for whom you have no oversight and management oversight. So you'd be setting terms of employment for somebody that you really can't hire or fire. So I would suggest, and that was my recommendation, was to repeal it so that it's an all or nothing proposition. Because otherwise, and again, it's an ordinance. The exceptions, to make an exception on the fly would require an item to come before council. The council would make that. It would then have a 30-day referendum period, and then it would be effective. So to the extent to make a decision, we're talking 60 days approximately for the council to first even make a decision, if that's the case. And then to the extent that we want to start making exceptions, you're now making exception to a position that you directed the manager to oversee. Okay. So it's just that's the challenge that we're confronted with.
All right, April. Have you found this to be a obstacle to? Thank you, Skip. In the hiring process?
It will limit your candidate pool. I can't say in the future what it's going to do for you. I can tell you there are other cities that have the residency requirement. There are cities that don't have the residency requirement. And interestingly enough, Avondale repealed their requirement because it was hurting their recruitment potential.
Okay. Another question. You brought this forward, is that correct?
At the council's request, yes, sir.
At City Council's request?
Yes.
You brought the repeal forward at City Council's request.
The council asked to consider it. The recommendation to repeal is mine for the reasons that I articulated.
Okay.
And one other aspect I would want to present to you is that to consider not only hiring somebody from outside of the city, but promoting somebody from within, because you may have a scenario where there is an employee that may live 50 feet from the city boundary, and they're outside of the city, and then they may be promoted, and now they're going to be forced to move 50 feet so that they can comply with the ordinance. So it's just another consideration.
We could annex their house. Okay. That's all my questions.
Mr. Williams.
And I don't know if this goes to Michael or just looking for a solution, because Skip, you made a lot of sense. You're swaying me a little bit. But what if we left that extension just we amend the ordinance to read that it's at the discretion of the city manager? What if it's not the city of Surprise, but within the city planning area, so that it counts for county property, Waddell County land, those types of things, to amend it to make it more reasonable and to account for economic strife in a situation where, yeah, I have a house on in Apache Junction that I'm underwater, and there's no way I'm going to be able to sell that thing right now or move or or consider another primary residence at this time. So that'd be a long commute, but you know what I mean.
Mr. Villanueva.
Yes, I realize that certainly hiring somebody from another state, we won't have this problem because you're going to have to move in. But I know several years ago we had a director that lived outside the city, and that cost us money because we paid his car, his upkeep. He ran back and forth, and he lived in Mesa. So that was an expense that we endured because unless we can address some of those issues like that. And I realize that there's be some employees that will not be paid for having transportation, but there will be others. So it's something else you need to consider.
My thoughts are is that if in fact a person has a take-home vehicle, those take-home vehicles should be in the city of Surprise. Number one, and that would be response time, so forth, is a lot shorter if they live in fact in the city of Surprise. But that's another day. That's another issue. What if we ask HR to calendarize this item and bring it forward to us in a year from now and every year henceforward? Who would, repeal it today and not put our employees or future directors or future appointed officials in a financial distress, and limit our candidate pool. So let's take that off now, and then revisit this whole item in a year from now.
Got a request here.
Okay, I'm sorry. Mr. Hall.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor. I would rather do it another way. I would rather remain in place, and we revisit it a year from now or 6 months from now if there really is a for real recruiting obstacle. I just don't believe there is, but I could be wrong. I would rather leave it in place the way it is. That's me.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Alden, the reality of it is, and the reason this was brought to council, that it does impact several employees today.
Right.
There are employees that you believe to be talented, assets to the organization, and the economic climate is making it very difficult. And I can just tell you that from an employee perspective, especially a leadership perspective, that uncertainty of having to come back every 6 months to figure out if the ordinance is going to be brought back for approval is probably a very difficult type of process to have to endure. I agree with Councilman Hall. In a perfect world, we'd love to have all of our directors and all of our appointed officials here, but unfortunately we're not in perfect times right now. I moved to Surprise almost 15 months ago. I feel good about that most of the time. And I say that only because you do become a fabric of the community. You get to know the community on Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays socially. And what staff is bringing back to you was at the request of council, but it was also to bring confidence back to several individuals that want to remain in Surprise, want to continue their employment and be a professional asset. And we were looking to just move that forward so that at any time in the future, 6 months from now, 9 months from now, 12 months from now, that if you want to bring this back and make it a requirement, we can. We were trying to take away some of that impeding stress that's on them today, because by the ordinance, their time is running out. And it's something that we wanted to address publicly, so it did not look like we were trying to circumvent a process. And the alternative is for the city manager to enter into a contract with an employee, and that's not what we want to do.
Right.
We don't want to contract with an employee. Those are for appointed officials. So that's why we did it. This is a difficult situation, but if the housing market was different, I think I'd probably look at it a different way.
Right.
We're getting ready to hire. You're getting ready to bring the judge's contract back to you. You're also getting ready to possibly hire another assistant city manager at some time in the next 6 to 12 months. So there are going to be some recruitments of positions of high level. And, you'd hate to see a resident of Peoria that lives 12 miles away from the city of Surprise not apply that has the experience. So I don't think there's a wrong answer here, and I don't think there's a right answer here. I think the reality of it is just the passion of time, and that's what we're asking.
Right, and I just before I go to Roy, and I would like to kind of restate this, and that is that when this item was asked to be presented by the council to April, there's two people that were on that request that are not here tonight, and so I can't see us making a decision in entirety without the inclusion of these two people who were adamant about looking at this ordinance, and so out of respect, we probably ought to delay the vote. Yes, Roy.
Yeah, the only thing that I would think that it would apply to the city manager, because we hire somebody out of state, and let's say he wants to move to Peoria. You don't want to move to Surprise. And as far as I'm concerned, city manager should live in the city of Surprise.
Any other discussion?
And Vice Mayor Alden, to follow up on Councilmember Villanueva's response, and that's your privilege. It's appointed official, and it's your privilege that you can require that during the negotiation. You can require that they move into the city of Surprise within 12 months. I mean, that's your privilege. Those appointed officials are your privilege because you negotiate those contracts and those relationships.
Any other discussion?
I move to approve the repeal of ordinance number 09-20.
Here a second. Hearing no second.
I'd like to make a motion that we table this till we have the other two council people here.
Okay, all those in favor of tabling this and waiting until the other two council or members, or the mayor and the council member, cast your vote.
Just need Councilmember Woodard, please. Thank you. Unanimous vote to table, excuse me.
Here.
Number 10, consideration and action on Resolution 2010-76, a resolution approving a final plat for a project known as Lizard Run Planned Area Development.
Thank you, Sherry, Vice Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Coronado. I'd like to request to combine the presentation for items 10 through 12, if that's okay.
That's fine.
This is actually a very exciting project for the original townsite area. We've been working on this for quite a while now. I'd like to start off by saying this project is proposed to change the land use designation on the subject site before you, which is located on the northwest corner of Cottonwood and Greasewood Street, just south of the Buena Villa, formerly known as Interfaith Community Care Campus project, as well as the Rio Salado project, changing the land use from a mix of a R15 residential to a mixed-use land use classification. The staff does feel that this is appropriate because if you look at the slide before you, I've been the planner on this project in this quarter section, and Skip Hall can attest to that, for the last 5 years or so, and it's actually developing into quite a nice area. We have the old City Hall there that's moving forward with a tech accelerator project, the brand new fire station, the Desert Mirage Medical Plaza, Bell Mirage Estates, the Crossroads offices. I feel like I could go on and on forever. And just within a quarter-mile walking distance, you have all these types of uses. You have education, residential, commercial. So this really is turning into a mixed-use land use classification in a quarter section. It's a little bit long-winded, but I thought I would like to point that out. Additionally, we also have the applicant here tonight, as well as the resident who lives on site. She's been there for quite a while, the Riviera Gomez property. I highlighted it here on the slide before you. Staff requested, like with any development, we try to shoot above and beyond when a project comes in. And when the project first came in to request this process, we looked at the site. We saw the residents. We felt that, that they should communicate with the owner to rehabilitate their house, to improve it, because we feel like the neighbors in this community should be partners with projects so everyone can get along in here. The existing residence on site is on the slide before you. It's kind of an old, somewhat bungalow style with that's could use a little bit of an upgrade. It's a live-work unit, which is something you'll see in a lot of older areas in most communities. They do a clothing alteration business as well as live out of the home, and it's quite successful. We haven't had any problems with it. It's a great use. The applicant did work with the resident. They did agree to come in with the project, which was exciting. The applicant's going to subsidize their lot. They're going to improve the facade to more of a Southwest-style architecture. You can see here the slides before you. That Southwest-style architecture is consistent with what you see out there now with some of the newer projects, as well as it's sensitive to some of the architectural styles that are out there. So we were excited about that, and she's also here tonight, which is a win-win. To talk more about the project that's outside of the Riviera residence, the applicant's requesting a change to mixed use to allow for to sell the property for a potential assisted living facility now to partner with Interfaith Buena Vista projects. That's quite exciting, as well as other owners not forecasting the market for potential mix of maybe some commercial, maybe even office use in the area. We did set a set of performance standards in the document to require that the project be developed consistent with the landscaping, lighting, gabion walls that you see here at the Lizard Run. We want to make sure it matches, and we want to make sure it looks great. Additionally, we've all known about the alleys in the original town site. We've had a lot of going back and forth. There's an alley that exists on the south side of the property that you can see from the picture here. It's not the most attractive alley. And again, another bonus for the applicant. He had a stellar performance in contacting those residents, negotiating with them, and they're all open for this applicant to change the walls to beautify it. What we're going to do is when this project comes in for a site plan, it'll have to come back before the commission. Yes?
Yes, on the alley.
Yeah.
Do we still need to get in there for utilities or and this type of thing?
Yeah, excellent question. Yes, the alley is currently a recorded easement. There's actually access and some utilities in there that there will have to be access from.
Yeah. Because I know in some parts, this happened years ago, that we did away with the alley and let the property owners just extend some of their property, just add to their property.
Yeah,
did away with it now.
That's an excellent point. What I'd like to show you, maybe to answer your question, is I did a before and after.
Mm-hmm.
This is a before picture, and this is what we're anticipating for what it could look like. You can see that's a 180.
Yeah.
And we feel that the residents that are existing will have their access. We also feel that any future project will be able to gain access for that particular project. So
the maintenance on this picture here, that would be up to the property owner or that's putting this in?
That is correct. The property owner who installs it will maintain it. And also the city will have rights to the easements in there for the water and sewer in case we ever need to go in and work on it, like any other water and sewer easement.
All right.
Okay?
I have a question, and that is, in every development we have more than one access. And is the alley considered an access for fire?
Yeah. To answer your question, on the conceptual stages, we do anticipate that we have to leave that access open for the residents by law. So it will remain as an open access. When the site plan comes in, conceptually, we would like it to all kind of to flow with each other. But if the site plan does come in, there's another proposal. It's really hard to say, but for now, we're recommending it to stay open.
As an access, as one of the two accesses that are going to be required?
That is correct.
And then your last screen doesn't really represent a big enough road, I don't think, in order for a fire engine to get through. Your previous slide? No.
Yes, the alleyway will be 24 feet minimum. That was just an example.
Okay.
It'll be 24-foot minimum. The fire truck needs a minimum of a 20-foot free and clear zone, so there won't be any parking in there.
Okay.
To continue with, yeah, go ahead.
I just had a question, Vice Mayor. To the Vice Mayor's point, where on this plat is the fire hydrant? Is it over here in Greasewood?
I don't know the specific location. They'll have to completely.
But Mike signed off on it as far as being.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, the fire department, Marvin Rose, as well as the fire, they did review the project. They won't know exactly where the fire hydrants will be placed until the project comes in for site plan.
Okay, so there's going to be new fire hydrants.
Yes, because they'll need to figure out by square footage how many fire hydrants they'll need.
Gotcha. Okay. Good job, Adam.
Thank you. And at this point, this is a conceptual site plan on what it could look like, just kind of looking into the future. And I would like to close my presentation, have any questions the commission may, or the council may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Now, the way I understand this, Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, is that this is going to be a mix of assisted living and independent living, correct? There'll be assisted living units, like 89 of them, and then 40-some independent, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Currently, Mr. Brierton is marketing for that exact use. That's what the market is right now.
Okay.
But if the market does change, those uses that were listed in there could come back. But right now, that's what's targeted for that site.
Okay. That's a good use.
Any other discussion?
No.
Any motion?
Move to approve Resolution 2010-76.
Second.
Is this open for public comment? Is there any public comment request? Those wishing to speak about this item can come forward. Not seeing anyone. It's now up for vote, so please cast your vote.
Unanimous vote, Vice Mayor.
I move to approve Resolution 2010-73.
Second.
Any public comment? Not seeing any. Please cast your vote.
Councilmember Woodard? Thank you. Unanimous vote, Vice Mayor.
Okay. And 13 and 14 have already been taken care of. Have we done it 12?
We need number 12, please.
Boy.
Number 12?
Move to ordinance 2010-19.
Any public comment? Not seeing any. Please cast your vote.
Is it letting you?
Well, not now. We're going too fast for you.
Topic.
It's not coming on.
No, it's out of whack.
Can we have a voice vote, please?
Yes, please. All those in favor of approval?
Aye.
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 All those not? It passes. 14 have been taken care of. 15. You want to read it? Or is...
Yes, I'm sorry. Consideration and action on items to be placed on future agendas.
Is there anyone on the council that would like to have something placed on a future agenda? Not seeing any discussion. We will close that item. Does our city attorney need to have us go into executive session? Since we're not going into an executive session, I hereby call this meeting closed.